there is, let's say, your general cricket all the way to Formula 1. I think one thing I remember is that whenever I think of home, there was a massive public library which was like 10 minutes walking from my home, right? In the ongoing Lok Sabha elections, Andhra has like polled, I think 82%, 83% polling. People are not gonna like remember you, right? Even if you're a great player, you're a great batsman, you could be Mr. 360, Mr. Dependable. High IQ can only get you so much. Like if you're like a very high IQ person, you can do math well, you can code well. And ultimately these guys started by selling soap or detergent as their first product, right? Today you see a lot more, like if you really want to get into organizations, if you really want to get into there are ways out there are paths out there. But if it was up to me and if I was if I could write my own future, I'd probably write. I think one more would be to be a little bit more happier in the moment. In this world, whenever you want, you can actually make money. Saying that, hey, if I make this much amount of capital, it's enough. Like in fact, one founder said that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to LevelUp, a podcast brought to you by Lakhani Financial Services. On today's episode, we have a young venture capitalist. He is an IIM Calcutta grad, ex-Bain, and someone who is making huge strides in the venture capital ecosystem. Please welcome Sridhar. Hi Sridhar, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Devansh. How are you?
I am doing great.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thanks for coming on this show.
Yeah.
It means a lot. You travel from Bangalore, and I'm very grateful that you could remove some time for this shoot, for this episode. I think we're going to have a lot of fun, to get to know you a little better, and for the audience to get to know the human side of you as an investor. Probably your portfolio companies know you as an investor, but probably now they will have a different view of you once they get to know you more as a person.
I'm hoping it's all positive, but yeah, let's see.
Yeah, of course it is going to be positive. We are not going to go into, dark side.
Not yet.
Not yet. Maybe in the second or third, shoot. Let's start, Sridhar. We kind of like to do it a little bit differently. People in the startup ecosystem who have interacted with Pravega, who have interacted with you on a professional level, right? They probably already know you in the venture capital ecosystem, right? Let's try to know you a little bit, probably from a non-professional background, right?
Okay.
Who you are as a person. Tell us something that we don't know.
Okay. Right. So I think let's start off with this, right? I love sports.
Okay.
So like cutting across sectors, right? Like different kinds of sports, right? Like there is, let's say, your general cricket all the way to Formula 1 to even... So I've also like played sports, right, throughout my career. So in fact, I played this is like a very random sport. I played kabaddi.
Okay.
I also used to play a little bit of... so how would I say? Like it's a mix of sports first. Never really excel at one a lot, but then always try to be in the mix with sports. So yeah, I think that's one I enjoy a lot. And in fact, like you'd not believe it, like most of my conversations, right, especially interviews for even the Bain interview, right, was about like one sport, like through and through. Like we kind of parked the conversation on the interview topic or the case study, or like went out of the window in the first 5 minutes, and then we talked about the sport and then how you analyze a driver and car and all of that.
F1.
Okay,
so you're a big F1 fan.
I'm a big F1 fan. Like been following the sport for a while now. Like
whose fan are you now? Right now?
I'm of course, like it's so like everyone who knows me knows this. I'm a huge Red Bull fan, and the driver that I follow is Max Verstappen. But yeah, that's me. And this conversation is also starting off with F1. So I think this sport thing keeps coming up wherever I go. It's
I would love to know more about that, the liking towards F1. Because I used to follow it for a small stint, because when I was doing my articleship, I had my couple of seniors who used to follow F1.
Oh, nice.
So उन्होंने मुझे थोड़ा F1 के तरफ, they were like, they used to watch, and we used to like, they became very close to me.
Yeah.
I was a junior in my articleship, in my CA articleship. So they became very close in the first 1.5 month only.
Okay.
I used to chill around like a lot.
How young were you then?
I was, this is about 2011.
2011.
15 साल पहले की बात है.
Hmm.
And it was my first professional work that I was going to do in any organization.
Nice.
So they made me really comfortable. We used to do a lot of fun. They were really fun loving in general. And those were like pressure months.
Right.
It was when I had joined, I cleared my IPCC, the results came in June last week or July.
Of 2011.
And July to September is a hard period for CAs, right? Practicing CAs, return filing of the auditing of everything. And I didn't know shit. Right. So they were really cool to help, to guide, and we used to do a lot of masti during our those initial. And they used to follow, 2 seniors used to follow F1. So tab jaake thoda I got a knack about it. I used to sit down with them thoda, just randomly we used to see the thing, And so I had picked up that time, but then it was for a short period of time. So I never grasped or learned a lot about F1 or took it followed it wholeheartedly like probably how you do. Yeah. So I would really like to know from you about F1 a little bit more, like what do you see in F1, how do you analyze or what exactly do you do?
Got it.
As a fan, क्या आता है? Because India में cricket
चलता
है, football max.
Yes.
So F1 still, I think people are followers. Like there are fans of F1. I have 1-2 friends also who do follow. But those hardcore fans are still very nascent stage in India. I think. So yeah, tell me.
So I think there was this whole, I think F1 is still in the boom phase, right, in India. It's very, very early days. There's this whole Netflix TV series that came out called Drive to Survive, and then people picked it up from there, I think across the globe. But what in F1 is like most fascinating is that most sports are largely individual skill sports, right? Like, let's say you're Rohit Sharma, you're a great batsman, you've aced your skill over years of training, and then you go and play your shots, right? You would not really think about the bat or the equipment or the balls in the game, right? You're largely thinking the player and the skill. Same basketball, le lo, tennis, le lo, or even for that matter, cricket, right? F1 is a different category of sports, right? There is your car and there is your driver. So there's engineering and there is human skill, right? And then engineering and human skill have to come together for that season or for that team to win, right? There are a lot of examples where it's been top-notch driver, even for this matter, right? Like top-notch drivers won 7-8 titles, but in a very bad car or a shitty car is not really able to win, right? And there are also examples where, let's say, a rookie driver in an excellent car is like just taken this season by storm. But it's a fine balance. I'm not saying that car is going to let you win or driver is going to let you win, but it has to come together. So like core engineering and then core human skill mixes together. I think that's the most fascinating part of F1. And also the part of that, then you kind of see, right? You see human mistakes. You see it is the pinnacle of engineering, right? I think that's the main takeaway for me. Like,
so do you understand the engineering aspect of the vehicle?
Okay. Not really. Like, of course, like you understand, like since you follow the sport for like a decade now, right? You understand concepts like, hey, this is the aerodynamic component. This is like, this design will actually cause this, like opening of this will increase downforce, reduce downforce. You understand some technical terms, but come on, like designing an F1 car is like, even if I claim that I understand 1% of it would be an overstatement. But yeah.
How much does one F1 car cost to make on an average?
So they have budgets. Like for example, if I'm not wrong, they have like a budget cap of, I'll have to fact check this, but I think it's 250 million or 250 to 500 million ke beech mein. They have a budget cap. Yeah, they have a budget cap. We'll have to verify this number. But yeah, you have budget caps and then you have to like design your car within those budget caps.
Wow. So different brands or different companies will have different budgets, basically. So let's say if I'm a Red Bull, I'll have my budget.
Right.
Let's say if I'm a Mercedes, I'll have my budget.
No. The F1 governing body sets a budget saying you have to make a car within this budget. And then everybody
Every season that budget changes or no?
Every season that budget is fixed. Like this budget is for this season. Oh, by the way, this only happened like last 2 seasons. Before that, if you're a very expensive manufacturer like Mercedes, you could go all out and spend whatever you want on making the car. If you're like somebody who's like very new to the sport, let's not new to the sport, you're a weaker team. Let's say you're a weaker team, then you really don't have that resources, right? So you make a shitty car. But from 2022 onwards, I think there's a budget cap and everybody has to make the car within that budget.
So I'm aware about these 4 brands if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes and McLaren.
Oh, nice.
Right. So ये top 4 में पहले भी थे. Either
Correct.
right now
They've
also
been,
top
they
4?
yes, they're
Okay.
still top 4. Yeah, I will say they're still top 4. Yes.
Okay. And Michael Schumacher, Fernando Alonso.
Fernando Alonso is still there.
But he was first with Ferrari, then he shifted or something.
He's
like
been all over the grid, right?
Yeah,
He's been there with Renault. He's been there with McLaren.
Yeah, he was there with McLaren also. Yes, yes. So, like, when did you pick up the sport, and how did it build that? Okay, you started liking it so much.
I think I picked up the sport maybe like 10, 12 years back, right? Like, and streaming in India was, so right now, even now, right? Streaming in India is only through F1 TV. And then thanks to one startup, you also have like cheaper streaming that happens in India through that startup. But other than that, an F1 TV is like very exorbitantly priced, right? And if you go 10, 12 years back, right, it's very hard to like, find F1 on TV and
But Star Sports Pay used to come.
It used to come, but
And
then
now also I think on Hotstar, I don't know.
it was on Hotstar a few years back, but it's got discontinued now. So you don't have it on Hotstar anymore. You have to like either go through F1 TV or say watch it on FanCode, I think. If it's on FanCode.
FanCode, yeah, maybe FanCode, yeah.
Are the only two sources. 12 years back, it was very fragmented. Like कभी-कभी वो Star Sports का channel आता था हमारे घर पे, कभी नहीं आता था. So it was very hard to follow. The way to follow it was through the newspapers, right? Like I remember, like you open up the last page of the paper and then you would see this snapshots, a small column. And it became big. Like I remember, like Schumacher was winning and then Hamilton was winning. So when these guys were winning the record titles, right, you have these amazing pictures and paper and all.
Yeah, they became heroes.
They became heroes.
Celebrated.
Heroes are celebrated.
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah, I think Hamilton is still there.
Hamilton is still on the grid, and Hamilton is moving to Ferrari next year, which is like,
he was in Mercedes.
He was in Mercedes for the
But
longest
he did
time.
a lot of good things for Mercedes.
Did a lot of good things.
Tell me something, I never understood this. Why, like, I'm getting interested in this.
Yeah, sure. Please, let's go.
Why a player moves to a different company? Is it because of the pay? Is it because like a proper जैसा employee में होता है culture, pay?
Correct.
वैसा ही चीज होता है, or is it because of the vehicle, engineer? Like,
Got
what are
it.
typical reasons
Got
for
it.
someone to
Got
move?
it.
Let's take example of Hamilton, right?
Got it. So, I think I'll tell you the Hamilton story, but before that, I'll tell you like what are the three main reasons as to why people might move, right? One is the predominant main that all drivers want to win, Devansh. Like they're at the core, like you have to have that drive, right? It's not ki I'll come in second, I'll come in third. It's not good enough. They want to win. So they're always on the lookout for a better team, a better car to move on to, right? In most, a better management per se, right? It also happens.
And that back-end team also, that engineering.
Yeah, all of it is a pack. See, all of it translates into you having a faster car. So the drivers will naturally move towards like a faster car. Yeah. But here in the case of Hamilton, he's moving from Mercedes, which is also like a great constructor. So these companies are called constructors, by the way. Like they're not called, like the technical term for them is constructors. So he's moving from Mercedes as a constructor to Ferrari. And he stayed with Mercedes, I think 7, 8 seasons. And this move is largely because Mercedes has not been able to give him a good car for 2 consecutive seasons. Like last year. In fact, 2021 he's lost. 2021 he lost very closely to Max. 2022 was a huge loss. 2023 is very bad. 2024 is also like turning out to be very bad. So he's moving to Ferrari solely because of that, right? Ferrari is offering him a better package. When I say package, I mean the car and the team behind it.
But why wouldn't Mercedes offer him a good car if they know he is a player?
So Mercedes is not able to nail the engineering. Simple.
Acha, they don't have that.
Yeah. So what happens is every 2 years, F1 changes regulations, like how the car has to be designed, right?
Small tweaks.
Small tweaks. They also change. They also give you like a broad aerodynamic overhaul happens every 2 years, which means that every 2 years your constructor has to nail the correct design for that car, right? If you don't get it right, then those 2 years are a washout. Those 2-3 years are a washout. So Mercedes dominated for a period of 7 years, but last 4 years have been a washout. So he's now moving to Ferrari. That's now, of course, second reason is more money, right? I don't know
how much are they paid and how does the pay structure work for a driver?
So there are 2 components. I'm amazed I know so much, right? There are 2 components in their pay structure. There's a fixed fee, which is their annual salary. And there is depending on how much points you earn, right? They link points to your pay, right? I think one interesting thing here is that there was this guy called Kimi Raikkonen, who was also like a one-time world
Ferrari.
champ. He was driving for Ferrari.
I know.
At one,
That time only I used to watch. I think
oh,
7, 8
yes,
years, 10 years
yes,
back. Wala hai na,
yes.
Kimi Raikkonen.
So Kimi, I think in one of his first seasons, drove for a constructor called Lotus.
Okay.
So Lotus is now no longer around. So when he drove, and Lotus didn't really know how good of a driver he was, right? So they offered him like a massive variable component. You score XYZ points, and then for every point we'll give you XYZ money, right? He almost took Lotus bankrupt in that season because he scored so many points.
Oh.
Like Lotus went bankrupt, was on the verge of bankruptcy. So that variable component is like very shaky.
But then Lotus, so two aspects. So one, driver is making money, fixed salary. What is a typical fixed salary of a top-notch player?
Of a top-notch driver. So if I'm not
Just
wrong,
a range.
yeah, if I'm not wrong, like max and all will be like the range is usually between 5 to 25. Like if you're a very small driver on the grid, you'll make
5 to 25
million
per
dollars.
year.
Yeah, basic. And if you're a top-notch driver, in fact, it goes up, right? Like max and all, I don't know, they make north of 35 now.
Okay, Max.
Max is the current world champion. Lewis will also make that much. If I'm not wrong, Lewis max might be touching 40. That's a fixed.
Variable.
Is linked to your points, like how many points per point you'll probably have like some
dollars.
So uske upar they have obviously, if you see F1 cars now, they're always loaded with sponsors. Like there's not like an inch of space on the F1 car. So you make a lot of money on sponsorships.
But that company will make, that Hamilton will not make.
So
that the constructor company.
Even the driver has personal sponsors. So if you see the merchandise the driver wears, so the driver owns.
That goes to the driver's own pocket.
Yes, the driver has a helmet that he wears.
Yeah.
So helmet pe branding is all the drivers.
But major branding will be of the constructor company. Like Mercedes,
that is on the car.
On the
helmet, he's free to, like usually
that's his personal.
That's his
personal.
Yes.
Got it. So it's like a cricketer only.
This is more or less like cricket. Yes, you're right. Like
jersey has to be.
But you own the sticker pesa that comes on the bat, right? That's very similar there. Correct.
Okay, understood. Got it. And how does the company make money? The constructor company.
So constructors make money again. Three main sources, right? One is they make money from all the ads that are there on the car, their sponsors. They make a
revenue.
Yeah, they make ticketing revenue is again driven by the F1 organizing committee, and then they get a share of it. There's telecast, broadcast rights that you get money out of. I think these are three main sources.
इसमें home away ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं होता ना?
हाँ, there's no
neutral venues for everyone.
Neutral venues for everyone. There's one concept here. So if you recognize, each constructor belongs to a country. Like Mercedes calls, so where their plant is located, right? So Mercedes calls UK their home because their factory is in Silverstone, which is very close to the Silverstone circuit.
Yeah.
Red Bull calls Austria their home because Red Bull is a Austrian brand. Though it is, by the way, though it's majority owned by a Thai group now, Red Bull is an Austrian thing for all practical purposes. So the Austrian ring is called the Red Bull ring. There's a huge bull and a ring around the bull in the Austrian circuit. Likewise for the others also, like McLaren calls UK their home, Williams calls UK their home. So people have different homes, but yeah.
So now I want to know, because India may be aaya tha, Noida.
Correct. Both international circuit.
Yes. What happened to that? Why it did not pick up in India? Why it got shut? What was the reason? As far as I remember, I think it was some taxation wala thing. Entertainment tax was there. Levied on the ticket fees or something like that was there, if I'm not wrong. But is there some other reason also?
This one, see, I think I've heard different stories. I'll tell you the two stories that I've heard, right? And we can choose what we want to pick. Like ultimately, like what narrative we choose to believe. One is F1 did, I think, 2 or 3 races in the Booth International one, if I'm not wrong.
One only.
I think they did 2. I think they did 2. 2 I remember. I'm not sure the third one happened or not.
Recently they had done one.
No. Recently MotoGP has happened. F1 has not happened.
Correct. But in the same circuit.
Same circuit. So I think you have to. So there are a set number of races in a year. Like I think there are anywhere between 20 to 25 races that happen in a calendar, and different tracks lobby for it. By the way, like for example,
you have to pay.
I don't know what. Like you really don't know what is the economics of how a track ends up on a calendar. But there is a lot of competition for it. And to think of it this way, right? If there are only 25 races in a year, And you have some standard legacy tracks which can't go out, which are very famous, like the Silverstone in UK, the Monaco one in Monaco, the Austrian one, the Hungary one,
Dubai one.
the Italy one, which is home of Ferrari. All of these can't go out. There are like 2 tracks in Italy. So 10 are like fixed. They're like standard fixtures, can't really go out, right? It's like you're going and playing in England, right? You have to play in Lords, so, those categories. So those are 10 are gone, right? And then now you have the sport trying to push the race into more richer countries. Let's say US. US was never a F1 following country, but now US has two races on the calendar. They're adding few more. So there's Miami, there's Texas. They're adding a couple more. So they're pushing, let's say, 2 or 3, 4 races into the US category, right? They have one in Canada, one in Mexico, because they want to make the race popular in North America. Again, high GDP per capita, high spending, more sponsorships. So you're like 5, 6 races gone there. Then you'll not believe it. The rest of the 5, 6 races are all Middle Eastern races today, right? You have like one in Abu Dhabi, one in Qatar. You can't tell. Bahrain mein ek hota hai. There's good money there.
Yeah.
And these guys have signed lifetime contracts, by the way, with F1, that you will have a race like the last race will happen with us, etc. And the great sponsorships also, like, so you are like 3, 4 races gone. There's one that happens in China. Like one might happen in China, one might happen in Japan, one might happen in Australia. So between all of this, I don't see like how they'll land up in India, or like why India is a market for the lacking behind. The other one, of course, I don't know about this, but there could be some challenges that they faced last time, like the taxation one. But
yeah, sure. There was a taxation issue. I think the entertainment tax. So as far as I remember, I think India charged them on an entertainment tax basis, counting it as an entertainment, right? But those guys didn't want because I think entertainment tax is very high, right, 30-35%, and which they did not want them to be charged as an entertainment, because the F1 body did not see F1 as an entertainment. They saw it as a sport. I'm also not sure if this is the actual reason, or maybe what the version that you gave is the actual reason, but this is somewhere which I've heard or read somewhere.
Mine is just the economics 101, right? Like why India does not make sense.
Yeah, it's a demand supply one.
It's follow the money.
Yes, follow the money. And that makes sense. That is also, it makes sense, right? Because there are so many people targeting.
Yes.
But you can only give it to a
Correct.
handful few.
Correct.
And I think there would be bidding also in those handful few. जो भी balance 8-9 बाकी होंगे उसके अंदर bidding होगा. Whoever pays more will get more. I am assuming it could be like that.
It could be.
Like how a World Cup is selected, right? You are bidding and the names you're putting in the bid.
Correct.
So yeah, I think okay, makes sense. Anything else other than sports about you that people don't know?
What do people don't know? Let's pick something else. I don't know what people don't know about me.
Okay, so tell me something about your growing up years. Like, how are you as a kid? Who are there in your family?
Got it.
Run us through your growing up years now.
Nice. Good memories, huh? Devansh, like, thank you for taking me back there. So I've grown up in Visakhapatnam, which is this, like, for people who know it, it's like a beach town in Andhra Pradesh, right? I've grown up there, like, been there like for the first 15, 16 years of my life there. Nuclear family, mom, dad, me and my sister. We've had like dogs also growing up, right? So I think that's we used to stay. And yeah, like not much to complain. Like I was in a school which used to like end at 1:30, go back home at 1:30, do whatever you want, right? Like play, study, don't study. Very chill. Really like doing that, in that town. And the good part of growing up in a small town is like, you know a lot of people and everything is like super interconnected. You really don't have to travel long distance for anything. For example, I think one thing I remember is that whenever I think of home, there was a massive public library which was like 10 minutes walking from my home, right? And then whole summers used to like cycle to the library, park in the library, and then just sit there like for like 3-4 hours and read. And then go back in the evening when it cools down. Also, it's a very hot place. Like it gets hot and humid. Think of it as like very similar to Bombay, but more hotter.
Okay.
So you kind of can't do anything much in the day. You kind of go study, and then when it cools down a little bit, you go out and then play or do whatever time pass you want to do, right? So that's there. The one thing that I kind of regret is I never learned how to swim, man. Staying in a city that has a beach, right? It kind of bothers me even today. But yeah, so that was that. Like growing up, like Visakhapatnam, Vizag, as it is called now. I think it's now also the capital of Andhra Pradesh, but that keeps changing. Like, there's a lot of political story around that.
Yeah, Andhra is going through a lot of.
Oh man, Oh man, I'm not sure if we can talk about politics on the
We can.
podcast, but yeah.
Go on, please. Whatever you know about politics also.
So
Because
yeah, I think.
I was recently traveling to Hyderabad. So
Huh.
one of my startup founders, portfolio companies, is in Hyderabad.
Okay.
So I was with him, and he was also telling me that right now, I think
Yeah.
elections and all happened. Right?
Correct.
The government changed.
Correct.
So there is a lot of shift that is happening.
Correct.
In entire way of looking at.
Hmm.
But abhi to theek hai. Hyderabad is
Capital of Telangana.
Yeah, capital of Telangana. Telangana and AP have separated out.
Correct.
But earlier, so he told me that when Hyderabad and so when Telangana and AP were same before the breakup. That time
For the breakup.
So I think that time it was very underdeveloped, the entire state.
Yeah.
But when the two separated out, I think Telangana took huge strides in terms of development, and that could at least be visible to me.
Right.
Because I was visiting for the first time. I had never seen the old, I was seeing the new one.
Right.
But the infrastructure development in Hyderabad is amazing. I think
agree.
You feel like you've entered Singapore, probably just outside the airport, an IT park, etc. It's amazing. Very well built. Right? And very clean, very neat, good climatic conditions also, if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
But so this is what at least he told me. And AP was still going through that political stuff,
right,
which was happening earlier. But Telangana came out, developed its own thing, and I think at least there it got a little bit stable government, which has just recently changed. If I'm not wrong. But they got that stability in government, which was very pushy in terms of good infrastructure. So they got that few steps ahead of AP.
Correct.
That's what he told me, the story how it was. But
got it.
What was it back then?
Yeah. Or what is my version of it is also.
Yeah, maybe because you've stayed there and your parents have lived there. So I'm sure there would be a very good insight into that state.
Yes. So Visakhapatnam is Andhra Pradesh, which is the separated out entity, right? Like after Telangana. I think they have made, like, kudos to Telangana, right? Made huge progress post separation. Like, things are, like, even if you look at by any metric, right? If you look at all the metrics, like anything, right, from education, literacy, water availability, like the state has gone in like a great direction. Yeah. I think what one also needs to kind of see is that Hyderabad was the revenue center for the state, right? For the undivided state. Like Hyderabad is where you get most of the collection from, like your tax collection or revenue collection happening, right? And that was taken away from Andhra Pradesh. So Andhra Pradesh didn't really have like it has more urban clusters than Telangana. Like you have cities like Vijayawada, Visakhapatnam, Tirupati and all. But they didn't have the main revenue collecting capital. So it's like you take away Bombay from Maharashtra. You take away Bombay from Maharashtra and then you give it to a smaller area, right? And then there's more, let's say, tax that can be invested into the smaller area to grow the area. Also, like if you're separating out and you have a smaller state and you have more resources now, you can better optimize. Of course, like we have seen enough examples where states separate out and then both the states have gone to shit and nobody has benefited out of it, right? But I think they've done a great job. The political turmoil is actually quite a right observation, right? Like there's been like a very stable government in Telangana since the separation. It's very easy. The party which got them at least the party which kind of was most vocal about getting a separate state was in power for the longest time, and recently it has shifted to Congress. Now people are not sure like how the next 5 years will be, but fair. Like I think anti-incumbency is natural in a democratic setup, right? It's healthy also. You really can't have one ideology building up over a period of time, right? And we know what happens when one ideology like builds up over a period of time, right? Like people start doing stupid things, they assume that we are in complete control. If you go back to Andhra, like it's been, like I would not say the state has gone to shit. But it's not really like outgrown or outpaced itself, right? It's doing well. So right now I think there's a lot to watch out for. By the way, just for your context, in the ongoing Lok Sabha elections, Andhra has like polled I think 82%, 83% polling, which is the highest in the last 4 decades. So
I think it is highest in India also.
I think the second closest is West Bengal, which is I think 1% or 2% lower than this. But this is the highest in India across last 4 decades. Easily. Like 82% just vote poll is not a joke, right?
Maharashtra was just 40-41.
Huh.
Or under 40, if I'm not wrong.
Oh.
Yeah.
So,
Maharashtra is very less. People out here, at least in Mumbai, people go on weekends. Yeah, if there is a weekend RM. Yeah, literally.
Okay.
Where I had gone for my vote, I have voted. So where I had gone for my vote, literally there I could not see anyone from my building, from my society. You know, there were just 2-3 people from my building, and I had gone in the morning. Right?
Okay.
So maybe they would have come. Some would have come later in
hopefully.
the day. Yeah. But I wrapped up my polling. There was a huge line, etc. I wrapped up by 10:30, 11. तो उसके बाद बचे सिर्फ 6 घंटे. Right. So I don't know how many people
actually
would
voted.
have gone after that. Because there was a huge line also. So vote करते you could like easily 1.5 hours.
Okay.
At least in my constituency where I had voted.
Got it.
But होता है मुंबई में people go for their weekends.
Got it.
That happens out here. Yeah, but please go ahead.
I mean, on that question, right, we should also maybe think of why not online voting, man? Like, it happens in countries like Ecuador, but again, population is like a big thing. If you do online voting, I don't know how you'll control and all of that. Can you manage it? People will get somebody to vote for them on a mass scale. Like, people can coerce people to vote, right? Because you can actually see. So, like, put bots. A lot of things can, I don't know, but it's just getting more people into the voting ambit, right? Like today, like people have to like travel, go back, and then vote is not a possibility for a huge chunk. But yeah, coming back to this point, right? Huge votes polled. Usually that's a sign of anti-incumbency. Like you want to kick people out who are in power. I don't know. It could be a sign of like a massive thumping majority of people who are in power. But yeah, like a lot of flux is happening. There's one party, and then like a mix. There's one party versus 3 other parties together, and then there's TDP, there's an actor called Pawan Kalyan who's running his own party, and there's BJP, all these 3 together versus the sitting party, which is YSRCP. So a lot is happening. I'm not sure. I will obviously like not publicly announce what my inclinations are, but then let's see what happens.
No, but what is the crux? I mean, how do they influence people out there massively in terms of मतलब development क्यों इतना ज़्यादा नहीं हो रहा है? My understanding I want to know is that political is there will be competition, right?
Right.
एक party power में है तो there will be 3 parties who want that power.
Correct.
So that will always keep on happening, national level, state level, everywhere.
Correct.
Right, whichever country also you go, it's going to
Correct.
happen. But why the party in power, they are not being able to develop it that well as some other state would have.
Got it.
Right. So they have the resources. They would be getting certain resources from somewhere also, from national,
right,
you know, from the central budget, etc. Also. So what is happening there, basically?
So, see, one has to understand that it's very. I think the topmost problem is that the revenue leakage is massive, like in the state, right? Like, can't really like go on and claim like where it happens, what happens, or how it happens, but you can see revenue leakage happening, right?
Okay.
You can also see a lot of existing, let's say, government infrastructure being sold out or not being taken care of. I think it's just a question of where your aspirations lie and what you want to do, right? Like a party which is, you know, not really thinking, if they've already decided that we're not going to win the next election, and to be honest, like people get that, like I know people who are actually working in the party, like some of my friends have joined politics, like active in politics, right? On both sides. Like people in the existing one and people in this new one, right? It's also been a long-term interest of mine, right? Like at some point, hopefully, fingers crossed. But yeah, so then they tell me, right? Like, hey, like we know, like 4 year, like in going into the election where we stand, right? And we know that either it's like if we are like very close to what we win, then we'll go out all out and spend. Otherwise, we are solely on the side of trying to milk whatever we can in the existing tenure, right? And then people have some clarity on what is happening on ground. The opposite is also true. Like a lot has been spent, like for the existing guys to come into power, right? So I know it's wrong, but then there is economics 101 to it. I think there's economics 101 everywhere. So yeah, maybe that is the reason why things have not gone well.
I think one of the reasons why a state does not do well is that, and this is like my point of view on any state which wouldn't do well, or even a country for that matter, is that when you're keeping your personal interest above the state or the national interest.
Right.
So I think when you're looking to develop your own self and not the state, then you're not going to do, like, the state will not do that well. So when that selfish interest comes, and that goes to the revenue leakage part only. So
right.
जहाँ पे leak हो रहा है, तो जो leak कर रहा है, he is taking that self-interest more than the state interest. They don't look to develop the state. They want that state to be underdeveloped.
Okay.
Right. The intention is to keep it underdeveloped so that they can have the power over these underdeveloped people.
So you're making a more meta point as to...
So you become more stronger. They want that power, and to have that power, you need the people beneath you to be powerless. Right? You want them not to have the money, not to have that power, not to have that say.
Okay.
So it becomes an indirect way of keeping them, low, keeping them pressed,
right.
Daba ke rakhne ka.
Right.
But at the same time, sometimes when there is something where you can do something good, so you'll do good to show that okay, we are there. You do a little bit of publicity stunt.
Right.
That's I think my point of view, how they like to keep that power. So
right.
they will keep that power, but at the same time, not literally make the state powerful, not make the people powerful, not make the people independent and have good economy in that state.
Got it.
Get good corporates, get good industries.
And why would that be? Is it because they fear that if the masses become powerful, they'll be thrown out?
They'll be thrown out of power because they will be more educated to know what these guys have done in the past. It's like Congress, right? What happened to Congress? For 10 years, UPA 1, UPA 2 was there. Right? They were doing, I think UPA 1 did fairly well in getting good businesses.
UPA 1 did fairly well.
Getting good industries. Growth बहुत अच्छा.
A lot of good policies at that point of time.
Good policies at that point in time. Because of that, I believe that one man, Manmohan Singh.
Right.
जब उसके हाथ से that power was going away, which was going more to the family.
Right.
And a lot of things which were happening under the nose of Manmohan Singh, but not with his will.
Not a sign off, but then he just had to rubber stamp his.
Got it. Happening because of the family.
Right.
Assume in terms of whatever that I have read or heard or we have seen, right, which is literally out there. And I have read this book also. I'm forgetting the name. It was of the ex-comptroller governor of India.
Okay.
Vinod, I'm forgetting his name. But it was on the the CAG reports that were removed on all the UPA government scams. So the ex-comptroller and governor of India, so CAG.
Controller and Auditor General of India, I think that's
sorry, Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Forgot his name, what it is. So his book, I had read it. He had very clearly mentioned about what had happened, when it happened. There were proper photos attached. What notices were received. What went under the nose of Manmohan Singh, and he still had to sign off.
Okay.
The email copies were shared in that book. There are proper screenshots in the book of those email copies what were being exchanged in that government, with the telecom scam, stuff like that. So they did a lot of things. Why they did? Because they didn't want the country to develop. They wanted to take the money. They wanted to keep the power, thinking that अच्छा किसी को पता नहीं चलेगा, हम पैसा ले लेंगे,
right,
and let the country stay underdeveloped.
Okay.
Right. If they come to know, we'll be out, and that's what happened. People came to know. People realized that.
But it's natural, right? Like information will fizzle out.
Information will fizzle out.
Right.
But they thought they were over smart.
Okay.
Right. And that would always keep, you have to be on your toes if you are hiding something, cheating something.
Right.
You're going to get caught. And if people find out, you're going to be out. And that's what happened.
So let's discuss what are the recipes to make a good villain.
Good
villain.
नहीं यार ऐसा कोई रेसिपी नहीं होता है. But I mean that's I don't know, like, it's a different thing, but just to keep on this politics part also, and that's where BJP is prospering. And I'm not a pro BJP or
Fair.
anti-Congress or something.
Disclaimer
Not-
you've
yeah.
given. Okay.
Yeah, not talking about any party supporting,
Right.
but just on the basis of this conversation, I feel what these guys have done well is, that their entire top management has been very clean in terms of their records,
Okay.
their books.
Okay.
Right? There is nothing that comes up against them, or has never come, or if they've done, but it has never come out publicly because of whatever pressure they have kept on people or whatever.
Okay.
Right? So, जो भी है बाहर नहीं आया है.
Nothing that we know of yet.
Yeah, that we don't know of.
Yes.
उन्होंने किया भी होगा, कभी बाहर नहीं आया. There has not been any leakage.
Okay.
Right? And even at the bottom, for that matter, तो कुछ भी बाहर नहीं आता. I'm sure the percentage of bribe or percentage of those kind of things would have reduced in this BJP 1, BJP 2.
Okay.
NDA 1,
NDA 1, NDA 2.
More, it would be much lesser than UPA 2 or UPA 1. I'm sure that percentage has reduced, and that you can see in their policies, GST, DMON, and the intent behind removing such policies, right? So that intent is very clean in terms of being clean and having the online karna, sara kuch UPI, everything. Right? So that intent is clean. You make it everything on paper, white, without bribe. ऐसा नहीं है, होता ही होगा. Government office में everywhere it would be happening.
Right.
But that proportion is very less.
So it's important.
Which does not loot your country. It is not taking something, a major chunk from your country. That's what I think.
At least the intent is in the right direction.
Intent is in the right direction. Yeah, so on the intent front also, right? Intent, at least what I can see, the intent is good. कुछ अंदर पीछे कुछ होता भी होगा, we don't know. But then that's going to happen. Yeah, as a country, it's not that India will become a bribeless or that kind of an economy, because something or the other thing would be happening. But yeah, I mean, okay, so then
I want to ask you a question here. Yeah, this is a question that in one of my MBA classes, this is the only topic of discussion for the entire MBA class, right? Okay. Only one question that the prof asked, and then everybody had to think of what they felt. So this is intent / following the process more important, or is outcome important? So following on that intent conversation, right? So I'll ask you this question. This is a question that has been, there was a whole MBA class where the only topic of discussion was this, right? And I remember everybody had their own points of view. So I want to know your point of view. Do you think in anything, it could be politics, could be life, could be any small decision, is the outcome more important of whatever you've done, or do you think the intent or the process that you followed is more important? Where do you stand? You can only pick one. You can't say it depends.
I feel the intent and the process is more important. That is what I believe in. Outcome, can be in your favor, can not be in your favor sometimes. Because I am a sportsman at heart, an athlete at heart. I always believe that in our hand we have the process.
Right.
And I'm a very big fan of MS Dhoni and Gautam Gambhir.
Oh, nice.
As leaders.
Why aren't we discussing that?
So, always hear them saying, and I've always seen their process. That process is more important than the outcome. So, outcome can sometimes not be in your favor for whatever reasons, right? Sometimes you've not really worked very hard. Sometimes it is for an external factor which is not in your control.
Right.
But process and intent is in your control.
Right.
If your heart is at the right place, you're doing it passionately, you're doing it with a good heart, with a good intent to help that someone, to build a good product, to solve a certain problem, or to develop a state in terms of
our discussion.
If it is with a good intent, you'll find your ways out. It can be a little hard journey. You might have to battle out with some villains, who don't have the right intent. But somewhere down the line, you will get
to some outcome,
a desired result.
Okay.
It might not be 100% what you desired, but you might land up at 90%.
Got it.
So that's what I firmly believe in.
Can I ask you a follow-up question?
Yeah, please.
This is I'll play the devil's advocate. Because you picked one side, I'll pick the other side. If you pick this side, I'll obviously pick the other side, right? So let's look at this way, right? The history always remembers people who have outcomes, right? Nobody will remember. Let's fast forward, right? Nobody will remember 20 years from now that hey, like these guys had great intent. If you don't get the outcomes delivered, right? You have to get that outcome written on a wall. If you're like, let's say the cricket example, right? RCB plays with a lot of intent, but if you don't win the cup, which is the outcome, right? The outcome is you win the trophy. You don't win it, people are not gonna like remember you, right? Even if you're a great player, you're a great batsman, you could be Mr. 360, Mr. Dependable, whatever you are, right? Like they'll not stand the test of time, right? Like this generation will remember you. Hey man, this guy was like a great player, but he never won a cup, right? We'll like maybe you and me will remember. Let's fast forward 15, 20 years, 30 years, right? No one's gonna remember if you don't have your name on the wall. So now do you think outcome is more important than intent? Like I could go and play a sleepish match, but if I win the trophy, like great, no? What do you say?
So, yeah, I think for a generation which is born today, the Gen Zs, and probably for them the outcome could become more important.
Okay.
As you said, right, they would remember someone who's won something or
Correct.
has achieved
Correct.
a desired result.
Correct.
But I still believe that even today's generation who are born today or something, they should focus more on the intent of the process.
Okay.
Because outcome will not always, come in your favor.
Okay.
Right? And if you just go with that pressure internally or by putting on someone that the outcome matter karta hai, then there is no fun in achieving that outcome. So I feel with RCB also, just as an example,
right.
There's a lot of pressure on Virat Kohli and RCB. That koi bhi season start hota hai,
right.
The first thing is they have to win.
Correct. Their whole narrative is that, right?
Whole narrative is that.
Their slogan is that we have to win a cup.
Nahi jeete, wo jeeta.
Right.
Similarly, now you see women's IPL.
Right. WPL.
I think this was the first season.
I don't know, but I know that RCB's team won.
RCB won.
Right.
No pressure.
Right.
Nothing. RCB won it.
Right.
Same brand, same logo. I think everything is same.
Right.
Same chants, Namma something, what they say,
right.
to win the cup.
Right. Isala Cup Namde.
Isala Namma De. Isala Cup Namma De.
Yes.
Everything same.
Right.
Fans be loyal hai RCB ke. We've seen that voting as they've started.
Right.
But no pressure on Smriti Mandhana as a captain.
Right.
Right. No limelight, no fan pressure, no asks that you have to win the World Cup.
Right.
So Virat Kohli pe hota hai.
Right.
And they did it. Right? I think this is the second season of first season and they have won it.
Right.
Right. So you see that same difference.
Got it.
I mean, the same brand, same company, same team, same franchise.
Right.
To make a proper word, same
right.
franchise.
Right.
But a different outlook, fresh perspective, no pressure internally on Smriti Mandhana and team.
Right.
No pressure from external fans on Smriti Mandhana and team. And they could do it.
Got it.
I think here, what happens is there's a lot of pressure. So when you have that pressure internally, you have to win the cup. Even Kohli would be having. Jitna hi bada player hai, internal pressure hai, you have to freaking win the cup. He does not have that World Cup pressure because he has won 2011. Right?
Okay.
He does not have that pressure now at least. He has the IPL pressure, for sure. And the whole team has, the management has, everyone. And whoever gets associated, they have.
Right.
And the fans put external pressure. So I think then you don't, wo outcome mein maza nahi aata. You don't go with the intent to enjoy the game.
Right.
You go with an intent to achieve that outcome. And that I think little bit somewhere down the journey, it spoils that journey. You see Rohit Sharma, you see MS Dhoni.
Right.
Right. They don't, I mean, everyone goes with an intent to win the cup. See, that's going to be there.
Okay.
But there is no external pressure that you have to win that cup. There is no internal pressure that you have to win that cup.
Right.
They focus on the process. They focus on the journey. Again, Mumbai Indians, CSK, both different brands, different franchises, different cultures, different way of doing things.
Right.
Right. But I don't see them under the pressure to win that cup. Even after 5 seasons, Mumbai Indians ka maine dekha nahi hai ki they are under pressure. Like they have not won a cup in 4 seasons now. Right. So I've never seen Rohit Sharma under that pressure.
But
from
because they already
fans.
won 5 times, no?
They've won 5 times.
Yeah.
But why they have won is also because I don't see them focusing on that outcome.
Can I ask you a
Huh.
question here, right?
Huh.
And this is my submission. I think pressure is always there on all franchisees. Like 2011 World Cup, I'm sure Dhoni had like a lot of pressure when he was batting in front of the Bombay crowd, right? It happened in Wankhede only. Do you think it's the ability to absorb pressure and then react to it is what differentiates?
Yeah, that's what I
Okay.
mean. Yeah.
Okay.
So pressure is there. In any job, it's going to be there.
Correct.
For you, it's there. For me, it's there.
Yes.
Everyone is there. You know, but how you handle it, yeah, that's the crux. So, wo handling, I feel somewhere for RCB also yesterday on I read an article. They are a 560 crore
franchisee. Spend franchise. Is it a spend?
Huh?
Like 560 crore is the
value.
Okay.
Of their or what they minted in this year. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, what they minted in this year.
Huh.
Right. And they have very loyal fans.
Right.
So loyalty outcome से तो नहीं आई है because they have not got any outcome.
Correct.
Loyalty आई है तो intent से आई है.
Right.
Loyalty आई है तो विराट कोहली के
brand
से आई है, उसके brand से आई है, उसके intention से आई है.
Right.
The way he has built the brand.
Right.
And the franchisee.
Right.
And the loyalty will remain. Why? Because of how he has made that culture of playing, of that hard playing. You know, so that loyalty will remain. Why? Because of this intent. It might not remain because of the outcome.
Okay.
I feel you see right now the Mumbai Indians saga which happened, right? So वहाँ पे the management's intent, it was very visible. Their intent, right, which was not taken positively by the fans.
Correct.
Loyalty reduced.
Correct.
So loyalty.
I would not say if loyalty, I think love for the
franchisee.
Or maybe the love for the franchisee is more. People are hating the management for whatever they did.
I feel even love for the franchisee
has reduced.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
People love Rohit Sharma.
And love for Rohit Sharma. His brand value went up like skyrocketed.
Right.
And
he's not even won anything, by the way. Like, except for the Mumbai Indians, he's not won. He's just lost the World Cup, but then people are liking him more now. Like, I'm sure like his approval rating is higher now than. Yeah.
So because of Rohit Sharma's intent and because of the Mumbai Indians and Hardik Pandya's bad intent. Right. Because the intent was I'll come in the team if I'm given captaincy.
Yeah.
And if I'm given more money. Right. So that's a bad intent. You didn't come back to your team, to serve your team who found you from the streets of Mumbai, to give back to that team again.
Right.
वो सिर्फ public वाला intent है, but दिखता है screen पे you can see what his intent was. Right. And even with the management, the way they handled it, that was not the process. Again, that comes in the process part. The process of managing to give that captaincy of Rohit Sharma to Hardik Pandya, how mismanaged it was.
Mismanaged move. I'd agree.
So that process again failed.
Right.
So if your process is failing, the outcome आएगा ही नहीं. But if process is good, somewhere outcome would come, which Rohit Sharma has done in the past.
So I think you're saying that intent and process are like building blocks, without which you really can't have an outcome.
Will not come. And result fail, but people will remember this Hardik Pandya saga for a long time.
As a playbook of what not to do.
Yeah, what not to do. Right. Similarly, CSK has done transition in captaincy.
Right. Well, much more peaceful transition.
Very peaceful.
Right.
Because Dhoni has groomed Gaikwad. That's what Gaikwad has said. Raj has said in his interviews.
Right.
You know,
actually, we can see two franchisees, both of them transitioning. One is handling it like with so much gravitas and class, and one is like all over the place with fans booing and.
And it's okay if Rituraj, like CSK, did not end up in the playoffs. But
they didn't end up in the playoffs.
It was a good. They came at 5.
Correct.
Rituraj's first captaincy, he came at 5, not bad. And he's led India at the Asian Games or what game? Something with they won the world. They won that Asian Games or something. They won. I forgot what. That was Rituraj Gaikwad's captaincy. So Dhoni somewhere saw him as a future leader.
Right.
He groomed him for 1.5 years. In fact, he had already told Rituraj that you are going to be the captain after one season.
Right.
In last season's training, etc., he had said that next season I'm going to give it to you. So you see the transition, how it is happening. Right. You're grooming the next leader.
Right.
How Dhoni gave to Kohli. तो यहाँ पे तो कुछ नहीं हुआ था. You know, it was just a trade. Where
Right.
Mumbai Indians saw Rohit Sharma is getting old. He's not won captaincies. He's not won cups in 3-4 seasons. Now it's now time to show him.
Right.
But let's not do it respectfully. Let's just. They would have spoken to him. They would have told him, "We're taking it away from you." But there was no. Like, it would have been much better for the fans if Rohit Sharma would have given the captaincy to Pandya, saying that, okay, I'm stepping down. And I feel now that it's the right time to give it to someone else.
Got it.
And they should not have announced, like, they would have traded Hardik Pandya, but not given him captaincy, made him play under Rohit for a few games.
Right.
And then Rohit smoothly transitioning it to Hardik Pandya. It would have been very good in the eyes of the public.
Right.
Publicly, brand value, team-wise, internal culture, internal building-wise. You know? And from what I have heard from my friends or people who have gone in the stadium, they could literally see the culture and the camp not doing well.
Okay.
Internally. Literally, it was visible. The camp is not one. The unit is not one.
Okay.
वो दिख रहा था. So yeah, I think to answer your question, process and intent.
Got it.
Yeah.
Long question. It's a nice question.
Right. So let's come to your next few parts of your journey.
Right.
So you are an MBA from IIM Calcutta.
Correct.
Worked at Bain.
Correct.
You know, these are top-notch
brands,
institution, and consulting firms.
Right.
Global top consulting firms. How is it working out there? What is the different thing? You know, and now at Pravega Ventures also. So, इसमें से what have you learned? You know, what are your pickups from these top-notch brands basically? And
got it.
So yeah, tell us something about that.
Understood. I think the biggest benefit of working at a top-notch brand is the talent density and the people density around you. And the people around you are like very high intellect or great conversations can be had. The density of people around you who have that level of intellect and I don't know, who are able to hold conversations, they're able to expand your worldview. That is immense. Not to say that you can't find these smart people elsewhere, right? Like you can obviously like find somebody, you can make friends with someone and then still great. But hey, like where do you find like 8 out of 10 people being super smart around you, right? And then kind of the same thing, right? If you even look at the B school environment or if you look at the consulting environment, even some startups for India in that matter, right? They kind of pack themselves heavily with great talent. And an observation here is cred, by the way. Like all the great people that I know all the good people that I know end up going to that organization.
Okay.
I don't know what they're doing there. That's for them to figure out. But then they're richly packed with talent, right? And I think places like that do two things, right? One is you're able to look at other perspectives. You're able to look at how other people look at the world, their lens. Pick anything that you want. It could be hobbies. It could be interests. It could be like how do you even do some core things like Excel modeling. Anything like A to Z, like both technical, non-technical. That's one great takeaway. The second takeaway is all these people are like people who have been there for like 10 years, 15 years, right? They're like role models or mentors or inspirations, right? Like, hey, this is what can happen. This is how life will look like. And sometimes that's needed, right? Because you have to have some big picture. Ki, Achha, theek hai, you do this for 10 years. This is how life looks like. I think that was very important. Those are the biggest takeaways. And yeah, like I think the third important thing which I would want to talk about is cultures, right? Like cultures can actually make or break organizations, right? Even like this could be even a small fund like Pravega or a large organization like Bain, right? Like you'd see that people, at least the organizations would grow very big, right? Or they're successful over decades. Like these are institutions, right? These are not like they've been built over decades and then people have known these brands for decades. It's because of the kind of culture that they're able to drive internally. And to make that point, right? High IQ can only get you so much. Like if you're like a very high IQ person, you can do math well, you can code well, you can make Excel models well, great. Like you will be a great analyst, you might be a great associate. But can you like really lead an organization? Can you like build teams around you? Can you get other smart people to work for you and trust you, right? Like think of it, right? Like maybe it sounds very 10,000 feet for you, but can you get other 300, 400 smart people to kind of trust you, right? Because each of these individual can also think on her own, can also understands logic, understands reason. But if they're all trusting you and they're believing you, hey, this is the way to go, or this is how the organization has to be built, right? I think that is a function of you having a very good EQ, right? You're able to like empathize with people, hold conversations, understand what people want. And I think that's how you build brands. That's how you build that's how you build institutions, like something that outlasts you. Like if you look at any of these three organizations, right? McKinsey, BCG, or Bain, or even the larger ones, like you take successful organizations like a PepsiCo or P&G or Unilever, right? Like I'm a fanboy of all of this. Like I've read a lot of books around institution building. Like you have GE's founders writing, you have HULK people writing. In fact, for institutions like HUL called Leaders Factory because they keep churning out people who become CEOs elsewhere. So the master, like since you like books, right? You should like read this one. But yeah, so the concept here being, there would have been 100 different consulting firms, 100 different FMCGs that would have started at the same time, where your P&Gs and the Unilevers of the world have started, right? And ultimately, these guys started by selling soap or detergent as their first product, right? And if you look at PepsiCo and Coca-Cola, they're selling carbonated water. It's just like, so there's no, I can't say that the product is the right to win. It's like how you, product can only get you so where, like, and what you build internally, the culture that you have, the kind of people that you're able to hire, retain for that matter, is what builds these institutes. So I think that's my biggest takeaway. And you see that in MBA schools, huh? You see that like because it's not so much visible in India, but if you look at the foreign, like, and it's coming up in India, but if you look at the other B schools, right, out there, or even your undergrad institutes, right, alumni come back. Like alumni give donations. All these guys are like massive endowment funds. Like why? Like people are like grateful for what they've learned from those spaces. People want to give back and stuff like that. I think that's a function of what they've learned there. I think bunch of learnings. Of course, you take them into the real world. You then harsh reality hits you. Then you build on top. But then having that foundation is very important.
Very important. Interesting. A follow-up question on this is that you having worked at Bain, right, and studied at IIM Calcutta, okay, and now in a VC fund. Tell me how these two brands are different. Like if a person has done his MBA from a normal MBA college, and worked at a normal consulting firm, size consulting firm, not the Bain and not the IIMs of the world.
Right.
What is that difference in that person, who has studied at IIM and worked at Bain, vis-a-vis a person who has studied at a normal MBA college?
Got it.
He's also done his MBA.
Yeah.
Curriculum में ज़्यादा फर्क
नहीं होता है. Like yeah.
And he's also working at a consulting firm. Right. दोनों में these two people, what is the difference in their personality, in their pay package?
Okay.
And in just overall.
Understood. I think I get your question. In India, people look at, I mean, this is not just India, globally, right? People look at these brands as tags to validate who that individual is, right? Like, hey, तुमने यहाँ से पढ़ाई किया and you worked here, so you must be like a smart chap. You must be super talented.
Yeah.
But that is not mutually exclusive, right? It is not to say that if you've only done A and B or C, if you've done like these three things, then you are smart. A lot of like you landing up in institutes like this is also pure luck, huh? Like there's a large component of luck and privilege. Like I think that's a topic that I always think about, right? Like if maybe I had not done XYZ things in my career, maybe if I was not exposed to that one session where I learned about what an MBA was, I would probably not have given it a shot, right?
Yeah.
Like this is like serendipity. Like there is a very strong component of luck that goes into it. I still remember this, right? Like you're asking me like if I'm Cal and Bain, right? But there was a point in my career where before the MBA days, right? I was wondering if I should do an MBA or do a master's or just continue in my job, right? Like I made a decision there to like give some entrance exam and do this, right? But has that really changed the way that I think then and think now? Maybe yes, maybe like 10%, 15%. But I'm not changed as an individual, right? I'm still that. Like my value system is that, my EQ is that, my IQ is that, whatever. So I think these logos and brands are great. Like people who've have not collected these logos and brands, there's nothing which kind of to say that these guys will win and these guys will not win. I think the only benefit that you get from collecting logos and from being at good institutions is that you get exposure to great people, you get exposure to ideas, you're able to get an environment which lets you challenge yourself, right? Because you're always challenged in these environments, you're always pushing yourself. So it's just that maybe you're running on a treadmill which is set to a speed of 10 versus you're running on a treadmill that is set to a speed of 6. Right, like in the 2 years at a good place, you meet like a lot of people who are smart. You have a lot of ideas that are exchanged. Now this can also happen individually. This can also happen without the institute. But yeah, it just aids you in doing that. I think that's my way. That's the way I look at it. Like
it can also happen by listening to such podcasts.
It can also happen by listening to such podcasts. And if you look at the world now, right, like to be honest, we see a lot more people who are not from, let's say, these legacy institutes that are branded but are very smart, right? Like, and you still end up hiring them. You see a lot of people who are even college dropouts, right? Who are great at what they do, right? People who have, and for some reason, I think this was a case of earlier where you had to go to branded institutes to get legacy and thappa, the Indian word for it, right? Which is a sign of your rigor. But I think that's not the only way out there. Now it's not the only way out there. Like you can choose your field, you can excel at it independently. And I think organizations also know that now. Like right now, when we hire or when some of our funds, one of our portfolio companies hire, right? Like if you're coming from a good organization or you're coming from a good education institute, it's obviously a positive. But then ultimately, like if the other person is able to demonstrate, let's say the person who's not is able to demonstrate that he or she is better at some technical aspect or is more rigorous, more skillful, it's always in the favor of skill. Like I think we've moved because now it is like people understand what happens, right? Like the curriculum is same everywhere.
Does Bain understand that? Let's say for example, Bain still hires from IIMs.
I think they have a very diverse hiring policy now. I don't like they've expanded much beyond that. Like
when I say Bain, I just not mean Bain, but I mean the global big large consulting
they do
like
if you look at, for example, if you look at the people that who work in these consulting firms abroad, right? You have doctors, architects, you have designers, they look different people from different streams of life working there.
But is it from the top-notch universities? What I'm asking. Like in India, IIMs or IITs, right? Is there criteria only set that we only hire from IIMs and IITs?
I think of it this way, right? Like if you have to hire 100 people and you have to minimize your effort in hiring 100 people, you kind of go to a place which is densely packed with talent, and then you set up shop there and you hire from there. I think that's the reason why they kind of gravitate towards. That's my understanding, right? Like, other than of course like they want brands and then they want.
Yeah, even that would uplift their brand and
correct.
Create a ritual.
But today you see a lot more, like if you really want to get into organizations, if you really want to get into there are ways out there, there are paths out there, you can do it. Like you can apply, you'll be independently evaluated, and then
Okay, so you were there in Bain for around a year.
For a year or so, and then I left quickly.
Okay. Why did you leave?
Okay, so
people would not generally want to leave Bain.
Correct. This is again a story that people around me know. So I interned with Pravega, by the way. Like after your MBA, before the Bain stint, there was a period of time where like it was a cooling down period. I did post MBA. I think I had like 4 months or 5 months, and I was not doing much. I went home, and that's when one of my friends had shared this thing that hey, one fund is looking for interns, like predominantly like specifically post MBA interns. I'm like, who are these people who are looking for post MBA interns? And I kind of just applied randomly. And by the way, I was on a vacation then. I was in Darjeeling or somewhere. Or like after Calcutta, from Calcutta, I went to Darjeeling. Good chilling is the word for it. And then I applied, and then this was Pravega Ventures, and then they had interviewed me while I was in that remote place, right? Like signal was breaking. I still remember like one of the partners was having a conversation. Unko आधा सुनाई दिया, आधा नहीं सुनाई दिया, whatever. Like, but still, I ended up getting that internship role, and I interned with Pravega for like 2 months before the Bain, and I went off to Bain.
Oh, okay.
And then I started working in Bain. Like obviously, like I didn't know, and they didn't offer me a full time at that point in time because funds don't really hire. They were not hiring. Like they didn't have any hiring need. So I went off to Bain. I started working there. Some time elapsed, and then I get a call from one of the partners, Vinay, at the fund, saying, "Hey, we wanna hire somebody for XYZ role. Would you be interested?" So I think that's when I kind of like my plan was this, Devansh, like we will work for at least 2.5, 3 years in consulting. It's typical, like
Typical, हाँ,
हाँ,
थोड़ा experience
थोड़ा
consider,
experience
then move to
करेंगे, फिर
MNC or
सोचेंगे like we'll either then one of the options was VC. We'll also think of
MNC
whatever.
or whatever.
हाँ. He called me and was like, hey, if you want, if you come. मैंने उनको समझाया ये कि my plan is this कि मैं 2 years करना चाहता हूँ, इसलिए हाँ ठीक है सोच के बताओ. I went to my manager at Bain. I think I'll give, obviously, like is a person called Rohit. I went to the manager at Bain and I told him that ऐसा offer है, like what do you think I should do? There was like 2 people at Bain, my direct senior Anuj and my manager Rohit, right? And I'm like, hey, what do you think I should do? They're like, if you think it's a thing that interests you, you should give it a shot, because if your plan is always to spend 2 years and get out, do it now. No, like why do you want to like spend 2 years and then get out? This is how all of us think, by the way. Like before we take a plunge, right? Entrepreneurs also, like I will spend 3 years researching, or I will like they keep pushing out ideas, right? Or you kind of procrastinate. So he said, like, why are you doing that? If this is what you always wanted to do, and if you like investing, you already interned there. If you like the people, do it now. What will happen? If you not like it, you'll come back or you'll figure it out in life. So that's why I kind of moved ahead. But if it was up to me, and if I was if I could write my own future, I'd probably write 2 years at Bain and then we'll think. That was always my plan. But I think seldom happen according to plan.
Got it.
Yeah. So yeah.
All right. I think that's interesting. There's a saying, right, which goes like that: you are what you roam with. So you are what exactly you roam with 5 top-notch people.
You're like 20% of the 5 people
you
that
are like what you roam the 5 closest people to you.
Right.
Whom
Right.
You sit down and talk to daily.
Right.
And also the kind of books, the 5 books that you read, or the kind of books that you read. So you are a mix of.
You're defined by this. Yes. Okay.
Right.
So do you believe that?
Yeah, I do believe to
Okay.
a large extent, because I think I do like reading books and I do read books, and I also feel you are also a person who is also a mix of what you consume as content. Because now content is a big consumption part of everyone's life.
Right.
So you're a mix of the top 5 people you roam with.
Okay.
The top 5 probably YouTube channels you follow.
Okay.
Right? And also the books that you read. Right. So in your case, I want to talk about the people, the top 5 people, right?
Okay.
Because you come from IIM and from Bain, I'm sure you've got access to like a very good network.
Right.
And the best talent, as we just spoke.
Right.
So tell me how that has shaped you in your career and in your personal life also.
Got it.
Like the top 3 things that you would have learned, which shaped you, which you were not earlier.
Right.
Okay. Not in terms of your value systems or something.
Yeah.
But it helped you build something, which made you what you are today, and which would also help you in your future.
Okay.
So top 3 things that you've learned from these people, and if you would want to even give the name of the person from whom you learned that aspect of life.
Got it.
Not just professional, but
Right.
personally.
Got it. I think the topmost. I think I learned this from one of my closest friends at Cal, and this is actually, wait, I'm going to talk about something that I learned during my engineering days, right? Like, I was a very opinionated brat. Like, I had these very strong opinions, and then ki aisa hona chahiye, waisa hona chahiye, and stuff like that, right? Like, and I learned from one of my friends that in fact, was observing. It's not just like learning, right? You also observe people, and then he was able to make these seamless connections, right? If the other person doesn't have the same point of view as you can still exist with that person in the same room. You don't have to really like hate the other person or have a strong opinion, right? Like you can understand what he's saying and disagree and choose to disagree and have that opinion. ठीक है, like your stand is that हमको XYZ करना चाहिए. I'm an ABC person. cool, fair. That's it. Like draw a line there. Then you don't have to really be like, hey, isko XYZ karna chahiye. He's different from me. He's bad. I think that perspective I got from a few people. Like I was not that. I was also like, hey, my ABC is sacred. I have to do ABC. Like why are you doing XYZ?
So you were earlier a person who would want to impose your things on
Yes. Yes. I would not say impose. Who earlier thought that my way of looking at very opinionated. Like my way of looking at things is the right way to look at things. Right.
Okay, got it.
So what this does is you're able to now sit with a lot more opinions that are not yours, and some of them over a period of time you realize makes sense, right? Like today your opinion might be right, but then tomorrow somebody else's opinion starts making a lot more sense.
Yeah.
So that's the topmost learning that I've had. The second learning is from I am Cal, right? I used to be a kind of person who likes to know where things are going. Like, okay, today we're doing XYZ, we'll do this for like 2 years. Or even things like
Planning बहुत करते हैं.
planning, want to know at least like ballpark where stuff is going in life, right? Like today, like what we'll do, like I'll do a podcast with Devansh. Should have done that. But thankfully now I don't have to because of this learning. So the learning here is that sitting with uncertainty. Like you don't really have to
Be certain about
thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and recently I think I've listened to a dressing room talk of one of these sports teams, right? Like they'd IPL only. So they'd lost the match and there was like a post-match dressing room session, right?
Which team?
Sunrisers Hyderabad.
Okay.
So and then the session, and then the guy says something like, hey, we don't have to reinvent our game. What we have to think is we just have to find those 1 or 2 balls in the innings where we'll do something different individually. Like you don't have to like start playing like a new player all of a sudden. Same thing, right? Like applies to uncertainty also. Like just think for the next 1 or 2 balls type equivalent in life, right? Just think. And as we go back to the original process, right? We have our process, right? Like we are thinking कि हम ये 5-6 things करेंगे. Just think of how you do the first 3 things. You don't have to think of the outcome as you said, and then be drive. That lets you exist with uncertainty, because in life you can't really draw the line from A to B. Say that it is A, B, so it is A, then 1, 2, 3, 4, then B, right? Sometimes it's not like a train station. Sometimes it's A, A1, A2, A3, and then something else, and then you'll reach B, right? Sometimes you'll decide you don't want to go to B after you reach A4. You're like, nahi, mujhe C jana hai. You have to live with uncertainty, and that happens. Okay. That's like that's a great learning that I had. It bothers people around me now. Now I say I'm so comfortable with uncertainty that people around me are like, yeah, like, isn't it bothering you that we've not planned? Isn't it bothering you that, like, I've become too much of a, but that's still okay, because then I give them this gyan ki no, it's fine, I'll figure it out, ho jayega, ho payega. So that's there. So I think, yeah, those are 2 things.
That's the same understanding with which we started this podcast also. There was no certainty.
Okay.
We just went with the flow.
Right.
हो जाएगा.
Right.
We'll figure it out.
Right.
ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्या होगा, नहीं होगा.
हाँ.
उससे नुकसान तो नहीं होगा ना मेरा. I'm not going to go down.
Correct.
तो जाना है तो ऊपर ही जाना है. Otherwise I'll stay where I am. So there was no same uncertainty. And that's how we just planned, went ahead, did everything, found people, good people to work with, etc.
Right.
Very uncertain.
So one of my friends had this theme in life ki ho paega. That's it. Like whenever she's very stressed out in life, right? Like we used to say to each other, like, ho paega. Same thing. Like I think the same thing I did in a podcast, right? You don't have to know all the steps, man. You just have to like there are 10 steps, 1 and 2 up karo, फिर देखते हैं वहाँ से क्या होता है.
Correct.
I think that is. So I've told you 2 things. Yeah. Really, one more. Okay. I think one more would be to be a little bit more happier in the moment, right? I'll tell you what that means. I'll tell you what that means also, right? Like, irrespective of what the outcome is, like, you have to like live with yourself. Like, let's say you want to reach B, right? You really don't end up reaching B, right? But you're still an individual, and then you're like, it's a very, very high degree of self-reflection, right? Because you're an individual, and then you have to be happy with yourself. So you can't be like, I wanted to go to the US, I didn't end up in the US. Or you can't be like, hey, I wanted something to happen. I wanted this relationship to work, this didn't work, or I wanted this job to work out, this didn't work out. So it is fine. You can't punish yourself a lot. Like sometimes
you can't punish someone else.
you can't punish someone else.
If you are, probably living with your parents,
Right.
with your friends, you
Right.
can't get that thing out on them.
You can't, like, it's very human thing to do, to go and lash out at people. Like, you don't do it on purpose, but then it happens, right? Like, things bottle up, and then you're like, you say harsh things, you say stupid things, but that's just gonna like make things worse or bad. I'm sure that people around you will stick around. They're not gonna like go away just because you said something bad, but then you'll feel bad about it later. Right? Like after you like cool down or after you have like some time to process it. I'm sure it happens to all of us. It might have happened to you also.
True.
Like things didn't go, like 4 things didn't go your way, and then you kind of take it out on somebody else. But you know, that separation is very important. Like, and you have to like live with yourself. Okay, like you own up your mistakes and then you learn from it and then you kind of go out in life. But you really can't be like blaming yourself for all the shit that happens. You have to be happy. Like you learn from it. I think the third takeaway is learn from whatever shit goes with you. Don't be like, shit has happened. Like you can't play the victim. You really can't play the victim. Be happy with yourself. A very bad card to play, because then you're
People play it as a joker.
People play it as a joker.
That joker does not work out in cards. It works out. Joker is a positive thing, but in life, that victim card joker is not very good. In fact, pulls you more down.
It pulls you more down.
Energy wise, it takes
Correct.
you more down.
I agree. Like I think a lot of people who listen to this podcast also can get this, right? Like you can't play the victim. Like if you're down or if you're, like pick yourself up, like, and you can't lash out at people around you.
That's okay. You can stay down also for some time.
You can stay down.
Don't make a huge you and cry about it. You can stay down, take a back foot for some time. It's okay.
Correct.
I think it happens, and then you come out a little stronger once you get.
Correct. Like since we've discussed a lot of cricket analogies, like play the additional 2 balls. Like if your catch has been dropped, then make use of it. No, like or the ball khelo, like see the ball better, and then start after a while. Like you don't have to like throw your wicket away, no, just because you're playing badly.
True.
I think that's
Got it.
a lot of sports metaphors, huh?
A lot of sports metaphors. Interesting. See, that's why I like guy-to-guy conversation. With a girl, typically, the sports part does not come with whomever we have shot. But okay, good. Coming to your social media part, right? I don't see you much active on LinkedIn specifically because, of course, the field that we are in, LinkedIn is the best social media tool.
Yeah.
But I don't see you much active. You post very little. And
little to none.
Yeah, engagement is also very little. Why is that? Are you introvert and shy as a person publicly, or it's like it does not interest you? You don't find value into it. Like, what's the reason?
Like this could be on Instagram. I don't know what. This could be on Twitter and LinkedIn. I don't know about Instagram. Like Twitter
at
and
least
LinkedIn.
For our profession.
At least for our profession. Yeah. But I think I find it hard to do it for like multiple reasons. It doesn't come very naturally to me, Devansh. Like to a lot of people, it comes naturally, right? Like you kind of people can talk. If someone like you like ask me for a conversation, like I can talk brilliantly at hours one-on-one, right? Like I can give you opinions. We can discuss anything, right? From how to do gardening to sports to whatever, right? Like, but I really don't want to put it out there. Like for some reason, it's like it could be. I'm still thinking of why. I don't have an answer as to why. On the introvert part, it's right. I'm an introvert, so there's this MBTI test, which is this Myers-Briggs test. If you should also take the test. If you're not, it kind of classifies you into what kind of individual or what personality you have. It gives you like 4 letters.
Okay.
So mine is an INTJ. The I stands for an introvert. So I think I am introverted in nature, but it's mostly a function. But if I trust the people around me, I'm all out, right? And on social media, I don't know, man. Like, to answer your question, it's quite hard. Maybe I'll learn it this year. Maybe it's a to-do thing that's been on my list since I've joined the fund, right? Hey, we'll do more this year. We'll do more this year. I don't know.
I think from what I observe from you, and I might be wrong, I find that you have a lot of knowledge and a lot of perspectives and opinions on topics, and you're very well read, well aware,
Right.
right? But you somewhere, feel that, if I'm going to put out my opinion somewhere, what will people say, or what will people think
Right.
about myself, or about what I'm saying.
Right.
Let's say you have a very strong political opinion, but if you write it out there, you will first think about them.
Right.
कि यार ये लोग क्या सोचेंगे, मैंने ऐसा क्यों लिखा, मेरे फंड वाले लोग क्या सोचेंगे, इनको शायद पता भी नहीं, I'm so much interested in politics.
No, they know.
Maybe I'm just
Yeah,
giving an example.
yeah.
Maybe your portfolio company does not know. But your portfolio company, let's say, it's from a state. Let's say it's from Odisha, for example.
Right.
Right. And you've written something about Odisha.
Right.
Which might not be a very positive opinion, or on a publicly positive opinion, right? You might have given a little bit harsh opinion, but it's your perspective.
Right.
तो वो क्या सोचेगा? So you might just think कि public क्या सोचेगी? ऐसा मुझे लगता है कि this is why you refrain from posting regularly or being socially active on these things. But when you're one-on-one, probably अच्छा
trusted space, safe space.
Trusted space है, तो ये बाहर नहीं जाएगा कहीं पे भी. तो वो मुझे ऐसा थोड़ा लग रहा है कि that's why probably you restrict or you refrain.
And one step in that direction is doing this podcast. No, for a person who's like not put anything on LinkedIn, I've doing this podcast. Feel like
it is. So it's a very good step. 100%.
Okay.
And then it has to garner into, of course, doing it more regularly, posting more regularly and stuff like that.
Yes.
Where you can, sometimes what I have observed in myself I'm not a writer or something like that, right? Sometimes बहुत opinions होते हैं, पढ़ते हैं, सुनते हैं, लोगों के साथ बात करते हैं, team होती है, so we have a lot to share, a lot of opinions and stuff. Whether it's you, me, anyone.
Right.
So sometimes it is that you cannot share it with people.
So you can't say your opinion. That's what I'm saying.
Sometimes it can happen, right?
Okay.
Because हर जगह पे बोलना जरूरी नहीं है ना. हर जगह पे share करना it's not important. Sometimes it's important to listen. You don't have to always say something. That's what at least I believe in. In any conversation, even in our team meetings, it's not necessary I have to speak. मैं से सुनता हूँ.
Correct.
है ना? बोलो आप, मैं सुनता हूँ. Even in interviews, when I am going on an interview with my other team member who is actually taking the interview of the candidate, I just listen. So it's not always that you have to speak, and sometimes it just happens that you don't need to speak, you don't want to speak, you stay quiet. But you're developing some thoughts around it.
Right.
So thoughts को share कहाँ करने का? So then social media becomes a place where you can share those thoughts.
Do you think we have to share thoughts, like contrarian?
Share
argument?
opinions or thoughts. Share your perspective, right? Not with a view that someone has to like it or not.
Right.
I need to get 100 likes or not.
Right.
Not with that opinion. So हमने अभी एक post बनाया था.
Okay.
Not abhi, but yeah, it's been 20-25 days odd. It was about our one employee who joined and who left within a month, and it was like a big shocker. Because during the interview and everything, it was very
all green flags.
All green flags.
Right.
Very good green flags. And then within a month, in fact, within like 15 days, she calls out of the blue. I've got a better opportunity.
Okay. I'm
like, 20 days back, 1 month back, you said this is a very good opportunity, and I'm not taking interviews anywhere else. So how all of a sudden? So it was a shock. So I made a post on that with no names and no intention of hurting that other person or anything, right? That post did decently well. It was not made with a purpose to make it do well. It was just made because I could not share this thought with the whole world ऐसे ही.
Right.
One-on-one जाके मैं ऐसा बात नहीं करूँगा. But it was there that I want to put across this point because I want to make some content around this point, which highlights the fact that these things also happen.
They happen.
Right? Which highlights the fact that it is a part and parcel of entrepreneurship. कि ये ऐसा होता है, तो आप कैसे लेते हो उसको? It's okay. It's her decision, her thing. We'll always find someone else.
Correct.
And she'll find someone else.
Correct. Free market.
हाँ, तो वो हो जाएगा, उसका कोई टेंशन नहीं है. तो ऐसा बुरा लगता है या वैसा वाला चीज़ नहीं, दुख भरी कहानी नहीं सुना रहा हूँ मैं वहाँ पे पोस्ट पे. But just to put my thought across, that ये ऐसा चीज़ हुआ, how things happen and how it can happen. So you have to be open-minded. So just to put it, so मुझे वो लगता है in you there are multiple thoughts and opinions and perspectives.
Right.
But it's all inside. So you should always try to find a way to put it outside. तो वो अंदर जमा नहीं रहता. And sometimes it becomes like a too much.
अच्छा.
ऐसा मुझे लगता है कि you keep a lot of things inside or you just share it with your known people ऐसा. Maybe parents or best friend.
Right.
जो भी है. So that's my view of
Got it.
You don't put publicly.
Fair. I'll think about it. You've given me something to think about. But yeah.
All right, let's move to the next thing, which is next question is ये question बहुत मेरे लिए intriguing question है. तो मैं हर guest को पूछता हूँ. I ask this to every guest.
Okay.
Something which I want to learn from everyone. Everyone has their different answers. It's about money. So what was your first money lesson? पहला पैसे का lesson क्या था? What did you learn about money first? From whom did you learn and when was it? How old were you then?
Got it. So my money lesson, I remember, is actually learned from my grandfather. He had a very strong component. He had a very strong influence on my life growing up, right? On multiple facets of it.
Okay.
Like more closer to my grandfather than to my father and mother. He'll kill me if they hear this podcast, but yeah. I'm hopeful they're not. But yeah, like it's a known fact, like because he's the one who's been like very strong guiding force, etc. So it's a very contrarian thought, right? He always told me that in this world, whenever you want, you can actually make money. You really don't have to like always back yourself to make more money, right? Like, and I just don't remember the setting or the context in this, right? But then I kind of read this fir se when Elon Musk tweeted something. It goes like this, right? It's easier to make $10,000 in this world than to save $10,000 from what you already have. So it's a very, very capitalist mindset. That the notion of money, again, not an Indian mindset, right? The Indian mindset is like we will save money and then money is like at times of need or required. This is a mindset where if you want to make money, if you're talented enough, in the free market, you'll always find ways to make money. It is a very entrepreneurial mindset. Like,
so money is in abundance, what we call it.
Yeah, like resources are in abundance, and if you can use what you have, this could be your brain or your network or whatever you have, right? Your intellect, you can end up making money.
Okay.
Like, that's my whole money lesson, right? And everything else that I do to money is in linkage to that, right? Like if I have to give someone something, if I have to give someone something, it all stems on the fact that, hey, if I want to make more money, I will make more money. It's not that I'm going to like... It doesn't mean that I'm going to go and end up splurging and throwing and burning stuff. It's not that. But it's like, if it's like the first thing that comes to my mind is this.
You don't see money as a restrictive thing.
Yeah, you can't...
You see it as an abundance.
Yeah. Like,
and
let's be honest.
That mindset,
yes.
and you start attracting also.
Correct. Let's be honest, right? Money is not a restrictive thing. The capital, like again, economics 101, right? Money is literally printed, like by debt, and then the US government printed money when so much money in circulation. Free money. Like I know it is not the mindset that most people in India will agree with. My parents will not agree with it, but like you can't give away your entire life just servicing the concept that I have to make money and then save money and then this is great. Like, but they can always make, when you think of the mindset ki nahi, you have to like, there's limited resources in the world, I have to fight for this. That's not the case. I think there's abundance in the world.
Interesting.
I come from that very Elon Musk mindset that there is more abundance. Like there is no restrictive, like if you want more abundance, we go and colonize Mars, man. But we're not gonna like restrict ourselves ki bas itna hi hai, yahi hai.
All right. So let's move to the last leg, Sridhar, which is the rapid fire.
Oh my God.
All right. So
right.
Brace yourself.
Okay.
All right. And be quick, be rapid. First question, your go-to friend in a crisis.
Prem. He's my Calcutta friend.
I am Calcutta.
I am Calcutta friend.
Roommate.
Baju wala roommate.
Baju wala.
Current flatmate.
Oh, current flatmate.
Current flatmate.
Arey wah. Great. Okay. Second, one big red flag in a founder.
Not having enough aspiration. Saying that, hey, if I make this much amount of capital, it's enough. Like, in fact, one founder said that to me. Like, we were outside of his office. This was like, should I explain also?
It's okay.
I was outside of his office. We've not done that investment. I'm sure he also doesn't remember me. It was one of those home offices, right? Like, you take a villa for rent and then...
Yeah.
Then I was asked him, is this your home? Or he's like, no, we take it. अगर इतना villa होता तो मैं क्यों ये करता हूँ? So that was a red flag. Like, you should have enough aspiration. More than that, right? Like,
got it. Okay. Third, one tip you would give to a founder pitching to you.
Pitching to me, always be on top of numbers. Like, I'm a very, very number-oriented person, right? Like, you can't be like, this will be figured out in Series C, Series D. Tell me today, right? Like, what will be, if it is a business, like, what margins, how it will grow. Like, think of it, right? Like, think of kitna paisa lagega to build a business. Like, if I was doing it, I would think about it. No? It would bother me.
At least next 12 to 18 months,
Yeah. Correct.
If not 2 years, 3 years.
I love the story part. Like, if you're a great storyteller, brilliant. Like, a lot of people in the industry will listen to your story, but I also want to know the maths.
Yeah, the numbers should back the story.
Yes.
Yeah, got it. Okay, fourth, if not a VC, what would you be?
I'd probably do something in the core domain, which is chemical engineering. I was already doing that. I'll probably go into manufacturing or some stuff like that. But if I was given like a career option of doing something other than VC, I'd probably try to do a sport, like something, right? Either I'd build my own startup or my own. Is that an option? If I'm not a VC, then I'm definitely a startup entrepreneur now. Yes, for sure.
And in future, turn politician.
That is how much money I make in the entrepreneur.
All right. Last one. This is a disclaimer. If you have a girlfriend, do you have one?
I don't have one now.
So then this question wouldn't make sense. But I'll still ask:
right.
Night out with your girlfriend or a boys' night out?
It's a very easy answer because I've had girlfriends in the past and I know that I've chosen a boys' night out.
And that's why it's gone.
One of the reasons, maybe.
All right, great. Okay, last question before I wrap up.
Yeah.
You are not very old, and hence I need to reframe my question. But one piece of advice that you would probably give to your 15-year-old self.
Okay. Don't be too hard on yourself. As long as you have the right integrity and you are like thinking straight, it's fine. Like, you're smart enough to figure it out. I think you should like have fun. That's it.
All right, great. I think this is one lesson which probably quite a few guests have given. Don't be hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Don't take it too seriously. Try to figure it out. Wonderful. Great. I think Sridhar, thanks a lot for this episode. Lovely. I think I enjoyed a lot. Starting with a lot of boys talk on sports and politics and stuff like that. I really liked it. So thanks a lot for coming on this show and gracing it with your presence. And hopefully you are more social now. And this is a lighting point to you.
Right.
More social.
This is my inflection point.
Great. Thanks a lot, Sridhar.
Thank you, Devansh. Thank you for having me.
What's up, guys? Before I sign off, I would love to know whether you really liked this video or not. If you did, click on the like button, click on the subscribe button, click on the notification bell so that whenever our video goes live, you are notified first. This would be a really small task for you, but trust me, this would help us a lot in spreading this knowledge world over and helping people level up their knowledge. Signing off, Devansh Lakhani.